I love to see the towns passing by and to ride these rails neath God's blue sky. Let me travel this land from the mountains to the sea, 'cause that's the life I believe He meant for me. And when I'm gone and at my grave you stand, say God called home your rambling man.
Welcome to Ramblin' Man Podcast, episode number 177. This one's with Scott Fuller, otherwise known as the Studio Temporary, and we talk about like his journey to design and branding, but we talk a little bit more in detail and in depth on the thought process behind all that work. And it was really great to have Scott on. We actually make a joke at the beginning about, took us a minute to get there, but we finally got him on. If you'd like to learn more about Scott, go to thestudiotemporary.com, spelled exactly how it sounds, and from there you can find outbound links to his socials. And he talks about the iconic brand that he launched kind of at the tail end of the podcast. You can find out more information there, but make sure you go and check out his work and give him a follow on the socials. And I really appreciate him for coming on. Sponsor this week is Feral Giant. Feral Giant is a graphic design, illustration, and social media consultation company based here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So they do work for clients big and small all over the country, all over the globe, in fact. But they also do photography, videography, video editing, and audio editing, website design, SEO, writing, content development. Hell, they'll babysit your kids if it nets them money. So make sure you give them a follow on social media on either Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn at Feral Giant. And be sure to give them an email today and hire them for your next project. Without much further ado, here's the episode. This is how we will start because I think it'll be funny. I think even though it's taken us a while to do this, nope, you are now. So I have a list on my phone of, hey, update the Calendly and send a new link to people. You are now the oldest person. Usually I've had people on for like a year and a half and still not come on. And just every month I'm like, hey, if you want to come on, you're welcome to come on. It's never, no pressure, no anything. But you have now been dethroned.
Hey, time will tell, in the next hour or so if it was worth it. So, we'll go from there.
Oh my God. All right, man. So you represent the A.
I do.
So where are you originally from? You originally from down there?
I'm originally from Georgia, born and raised, from Newnan originally.
Okay.
Grew up there. Dad's a machinist. Mom was a elementary school teacher.
Okay.
Grew up, typical kid stuff, playing in the cul-de-sac, getting in trouble, running through the woods, shooting BB and pellet guns, and all the stuff that are horrible to do right now these days.
Yeah.
Do what? Yeah, I did get into this. It was my fair share of trouble when I was a kid. But I turned out, I don't know. I turned out slightly better. But so we did that.
Did you have any siblings? Do you have any siblings?
So I have a set of twin sisters. I'm the oldest.
Okay.
My twin sister Sharon Stephanie, 5 years younger than me, and then my little brother, or I say my not little anymore. My younger brother is 11 years younger than me.
Oh, my little sister is 11 years younger than me.
Nice.
So yeah, in-house babysitter is what I called it.
It is what it is, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, did that. Baseball, basketball, any type of sports, and running through the woods and whatnot, breaking windows with baseballs on accident, of course. and you know, dog sitting for my best friend's dachshunds, and playing little league, and driving to Alabama to see my folks and everything like that. And then during that time, working in my dad's machine shop, drawing, always drawing. Never knew what
Okay.
design was, but drawing a ton when I was a kid. Um, and then I graduated high school at 16 and went straight to college.
Oh
I had
wow.
a scholarship for mechanical engineering. I did the trade physics, calculus, all that type of stuff. Excuse me, in high school, and I was ready to go. Then I went and toured the college one last time as like one last little look over, and I spent the entire time in the art department.
Okay.
And I decided that's what I wanted to do. So I started out as studio art, like fine art, right?
Okay.
Pen and pencil, that type of stuff. After about a year and a half, didn't stand it anymore. I was like, I've always been about like making stuff with my hands, creating things. And I'm tired of looking at something that already exists and painting it or drawing it or coloring it or, whatever. It held no real interest for me anymore.
Uh,
So
Did
I said,
what school? What school did you say? Sorry.
oh, sorry. I went to college in Pensacola Christian,
Okay.
originally, like I said, for fine art. Um, I have an amazing fine art, studio art folks there, illustrators, artists,
Okay.
sculptors. It was pretty wild how good they were. Um, and and I was good. I was very good at it, but it held no interest for me after about a year and a half. So I went in there and I said I'll give it one more semester. Took
Hmm.
a design class. After 10 minutes in that class, I said, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Okay.
Immediately went down during the break, changed my major, and uh, yeah, and here I am now.
So when you were younger, were you into, you said you originally picked fine art. Were you into,
Mhm.
like, did your parents take you all to museums or were you into comics or cartoons as a
I
kid?
mean, cartoons for sure. I mean, never really did a bunch of the whole like museum stuff.
Okay.
Not that type of thing. Even when even when I was in the fine art world, I never really did a bunch of museums and stuff like that. For me, it was all about technique. So trying and refining and doing that type of stuff. Some of it's your books, but a lot of it was just an insane amount of trial and error. That's how I
Okay.
learned this. It's how I learned design as well. So I just I just knew that I liked drawing.
Okay.
I didn't know, yeah, you can make a living at it and do stuff like that. But then I found design and I was like, this is pure creation. Like
Okay.
I'm making something that can influence this or do that or, be everywhere. And I don't know. Maybe it was just more fun. I don't know. I'm,
Was I was going to say, when you went to that program, was there somebody's work you saw that kind of made it click in your brain, or was it like the applications and the work that people were doing?
just, I had no, I didn't know anybody to have any influence on me.
Okay. Okay.
When I, when I heard about the class and then I heard about oh, this is what we're going to be doing and how we're going to be making this and all the stuff. It was just in my mind, I wasn't, maybe this is why I kind of am the way I am, I think, but like there was no real influence for design. There was no real influence for that. It was just the creativity, the precision. I mean, maybe it was my dad more than anything,
Hmm.
but just with working in his shop and everything, and there was a huge part of that really, transferred over to what I was doing with design. But, um, there's no history of it in my family. Um, there was I didn't know the name of anybody, any designer, anything for probably a year and a half.
Okay.
Um, I just, let's try to figure this thing out. Then in 2007, it was right before my senior year of college. I went to the How conference in Atlanta. I got to go in as a student. It was so expensive, even as a student, and that was 17 years ago, right? I think I paid like $550 for a ticket or something as a student
Oh, okay. I was going to
17
say,
years ago.
I started going in '09, I think, or '10, and I worked for a company that would pay for it. And
Yeah.
that was when they first started partnering with the Die Line. And
Yeah.
a
Okay.
full ticket for it was like How, Die Line, Freelancers, and something else. There were four of them. And I think it was like $1,800
Yeah.
plus staying in the hotel, travel, all that stuff. And my company would pay for it. Thank God. And I got to go to like Denver, San Fran, Boston, kind of all
Mhm.
over. Uh, did you ever go to Weapons at that time? Weapons of Mass Creation?
So, oh man. So when I left, that was the first, what is it? So conference wise, 2007 House Conference. The next conference that I went to was 2010. I was at the first ever brand new conference when it was in New York.
Oh,
I
okay.
saved up and went, and that was just pure insanity. And then I didn't really go to. There wasn't really a lot of design conferences or whatnot like that, especially local, and I couldn't
Yeah.
really afford to travel to them anyway. So I didn't really go to anything. I went to a ton of like creative mornings in Atlanta. Was brand new at that point. Went to a bunch of those like every month I was there, and local meetups, etc. Um, but then Creative South came along in
Yeah.
2013, and I actually won two tickets to go. Met a bunch of folks, had a good time, and then like a month after Creative South, Mike and I were talking, and he was like, "Dude, let's go to Weapons," and that was 2013. Like that was one of the last. I think that was the last year. Um, like Go Media was always a part of it,
Right.
but that was the last year that they were like it really felt like it was like 60% music festival, 20% rave, and like 15% design conference, and like 5%.
So
I don't know what the other 5% was, but it was,
the first year I went was the second year, and it was 30 artists displaying artwork, 30 speakers, and 30 bands.
yeah.
And they did that like the first couple 2 or 3
Mhm.
years.
I mean, at
And
one point there was a breakdancing. There
yeah,
was like on the schedule. There was like a
yeah,
breakdancing competition,
yep.
and I was just like, man, that's great. But we had a great time. It was me and Mike. Who was it? My buddy Matt.
Okay.
That was the first ever Ink Wars.
Oh yeah,
Was
yeah,
at Weapons back in
yeah,
2013. I remember we went. I helped set up and like do a bunch of stuff. We went and like bought the belts
yeah,
for the folks to wear, and like Matt was doing all this stuff, putting it all together. It was hysterical.
yeah.
Um, and I remember what was it, James? Who was the winners for that one? I think it was James Flames or whatever. I think he was like the first winner or something. I forget who came in. Oh shoot, how am I
Pants.
forgetting this rascal's name?
I feel like
Um,
Pants won one year, but I can't remember.
I think Pants won the next year, but it was so James won. Derek. Oh no, Derek Cass.
Oh yeah, Derek Castle. Yeah, Straw Castle.
Derek Castle. Oh my gosh, that guy. He is the most like unassuming guy you'll ever meet, but I love his work. It is just ridiculous. And then third place was Jason Karn.
Oh,
This is the
okay,
first time I met Jason.
okay.
Um, and that started like a whole string of
Yeah.
just craziness over the last decade.
Yeah, I'm trying to think I went every year. The first year I didn't make it is when they did like that cabin retreat where
Oh
it
yeah, that was back in that was like 8.
2017 maybe.
Yeah, I think it was 17 or 18. I can't remember.
But yeah,
But
Heather hit me up and she was like, "How much would you be willing to pay for this?"
it's
Excuse
like
me.
I don't know. Let me ask my company. You know.
Yeah, well, I was having to pay for that myself. And I was like, I'm willing to pay this amount. And it came back and it was significantly more than that. And I was like, no, no,
No,
no. I'll
Heather
just,
Sakai, man,
yeah,
they had a great team up there. They had
yeah.
just super nice people. Um,
I got to meet tons of people. That's what's so funny about Mike. Like, I didn't meet Mike until he spoke at one of them.
hmm,
And so I never met you, but we were in the same room time and time again. Like how
It's kind
crazy
of
is
crazy. It's kind of crazy. Like if you're in the same room with somebody, for those of you who have never met this man in person, I mean, I'm 6'1", right? I mean, I'm not a short man by any stretch. And there's a picture of us in Pigeon Forge standing in front of Five Oaks, and I'm looking up at him at like a 45-degree angle, and I'm looking at his ear, right? I'm not even looking at like the top of his head. I'm looking at his ear, right? I mean, for you to know what was that? Are you a Parks and Rec fan?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, remember the one where everybody just got completely just wasted on like the whole snake
Oh yeah.
juice and everything
Snake
like
juice.
that? And Tom gets up there, he's like, "I'm like a elephant, right?" And into the room, and everybody goes, "Okay, he's here," right? And it's like I would see you or like hear you or something like that. But if if it was a weapons, I could understand why I missed you.
Well, the funniest two things that kind of based on what you said, Mike Jones, when I went down and talked to him, because I think we'd been emailing or something, the first thing he said to me, I was like, hey, yeah, I was like, hey man, so and so, yada yada yada. And he said, I am not used to looking up at people.
This is true. This is very true.
And then later on, do you remember Joseph who booked it? Another tall, bearded, glasses guy.
Joseph,
I can't remember his last name, but he was there, and Lisa Congdon,
I know
world
Lisa.
famous Lisa Congdon, chased me down the Detroit street and then smacked me in the back because she thought I was Joseph. And then she ran up and she's like, Joseph, and smacked me. And then I turned around and she was like, you're not Joseph. I was like, I am not Joseph. And then Joseph later was laughing. He was like, yeah, we're bald beard and we have glasses. That's about it. It's like
And you're
there's
six
like
foot seven, and you're like 6'6". So
yeah,
it's like,
he's and he was like 3 or 4 inches shorter than me. So
God, that's
but yeah,
insane.
weapons. Yeah, Hannah at Snakes and Aces and I were just talking about it, like, man, I miss that conference so much. I keep meaning to make it down to Creative South, but I swear every time it happens, it's
Mhm.
around something else happening and I
Yeah,
can't
man.
make it. And this last year I was trying like crazy to make it and I just couldn't make it work. Uh I'm trying to think Creative Works.
I've been to Creative Works twice.
What is what
I,
what is
16
Matt's
and 16 and 17. Oh, Crop, and I've been to Crop twice,
crop
including
con?
this year. Yeah,
I've got a buddy that lives in Austin that I keep threatening to come visit him. I was like, I'm going to
who's your
do
buddy?
crop. Rich, he's a person from here. He's not a designer or creative or anything.
Mm,
But he's actually about to come to town. I was like, I need to come and crash at Chris's place or
yeah.
Rich's place and then just go. Uh,
No, it's fun. It's fun. I
yeah,
like it. I think there's you get to see a bunch of the city, get to do a bunch of different things. Matt puts on a really good show.
yeah,
So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
yeah. Okay, so you graduate and you
Hmm.
start getting into design. What were your early days in design like?
Horrible. My first 2 years, it took me 2 years to get my first job because I graduated in 2008, right in the
Oh,
middle of the big old recession.
yeah.
So I was at an agency. Uh, Still to this day, 16 years into my career, I've only ever worked for 3 months at an actual design studio, and I did that as an intern in 2008 out of college. So
Okay.
there is that. The rest of my career was basically up until I went out on my own was in. So there was a lot of that, but took me a while. I mean, I was going back and forth, machine shops, Subway, Minuteman Press, like an Apple store, like, and not even a real Apple store. It was Peach Mac, right? I couldn't even get a job at like a real Apple store, right? So we're going and we're doing and whatnot. And I happened to sell. I was still doing design on the side.
Yeah.
I was still going to these things and meeting with folks and trying to do freelance and all these different things. And then I happened to sell a computer to the right guy. Ran a trucking company off of Moreland Avenue, which is like Truckers Row in Atlanta. And I was using design as a sales pitch, as a selling point,
Hmm.
at that point. And the guy was like, "Yeah, I might have some freelance work for you." I'm like, "All right." So I took a half day and went up there to see him. And he actually told me he didn't have any freelance work for me, but he wanted to hire me full time to run. I became the director of in-house design for a trucking company for a couple of years. And I'll never forget that day because that night we came home and my wife came running up the stairs and we were pregnant
Oh my God.
with my son.
Yeah. How old is
So
he now?
he's going to be 13 next month.
Dude,
13.
I can't. Yeah.
He's grown like 4 inches since you saw him.
Oh, really? Oh
Last
man.
September, he's grown at least 4 inches since you saw him. It's ridiculous.
Oh man, I love it. That's so my dad, shocker, is also a big dude.
Really?
But he also told me when I was growing up, he's like, "You'll never be bigger than me. You'll never be bigger than me." And then when I finally got bigger than him, he's like, you may be bigger than me. I can still whoop you." Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's you.
My dad told me the same thing. I am about 7 or 8 inches taller than him.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, it's so funny. Like, every once in a while, somebody, what was it? They'll mention they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm 5'6". I was like, I remember when I was 5'6". I think I was in the fifth grade.
Mm-hmm.
Just to mess with people. Uh, okay. So you're working for the trucking company. Were you still doing work on the side too?
Of course, I had to. I
Always.
actually started the studio year one that I was working at the trucking company. I was in the back of an old sign shop in downtown Noonan. I was working on a project for a restaurant in town. This guy had this awesome little back room, old school, sign maker and painter and whatnot. It was about a 5 minute walk from where my wife and I lived at the time. So my question to him was basically, "Hey, can I hang here and work out of here when you're not here?" Which is a really spectacular thing to ask somebody, right? So we worked out a deal. He gave me a key, um, and I, for a year and a half,
Huh.
just about every night, I'm in there, 1, 2 in the morning, working on my own stuff, trying to do this bunch of stuff. Called the studio temporary as a joke because at the time, like everybody was working. Everybody's like, "I like working at this Starbucks," or "I like working at that
Yeah.
Starbucks," and like all this much stuff. It was like the nomad designer. It was like the precursor to what is it? To the
Working remotely.
yeah,
Yeah.
remote work or whatnot.
Yeah.
I was 10 years ahead of my time. So, but anyway, I called it the studio temporary just as a joke. So I'm like, I'm going to be somewhere else tomorrow or in
Yeah.
5 hours or whatever. And then I read an article about one of my favorite designers, one of the founding partners of Pentagram, was Alan Fletcher. And he was asked, "What's the most important tool in your studio?" And his answer was my head.
Oh, yeah.
So I took that and I was like, this is just too good. And I came up with the initial concept behind the studio, which is good design wherever I happen to be.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me for a while. So I did freelance, under that. I had multiple jobs, from a couple more jobs from 2011 to like 2015 when I went out on my own, but I never told anybody about it. Like I was in-house at a senior designer at a financial agency for like a little over a year. Nobody knew I had that job because I would always have a working lunch. I would do podcast interviews, like somebody would interview me for a podcast, like on my lunch break for my job, or I would have client meetings or client calls or work on my own stuff or do my freelance or whatnot during my lunch break, from my
Yeah.
design job there. So no one knew that I worked there. They thought
Yeah.
I'd started the studio long before I actually had. And what's so funny is when I went full time, um, and went for it, it was like all of a sudden, like everybody knew. It was like, okay, this guy's ready to go now.
Yeah.
It was like this big turnaround. And that was 9.5 years ago that I
Okay.
walked out that door for the last time.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of similar. I started working freelance when I got out of high school because I had started in a print shop in high school and I
Oh,
took clients with me. So I was already doing client work before I even started college, which was hilarious.
Mhm.
Like, but yeah, doing my own thing. I'm about to hit an anniversary for Feral Giant this year and on Friday, and I can't remember what it is, if it's 7 or 8 years. It's a blank at this point. It's a, oh yeah, it's just another day. It's just another day. But I like
Mhm.
to take that day and reflect and think back on what it was like when I started versus now.
Oh my gosh, it's not even close.
Yeah.
You think about things you wish you knew, all this type of stuff, and it's wild to think about. But you know, you move on, you learn, as long as you're willing to learn, learn from your mistakes and whatnot,
Yeah.
then you're going to be just fine. I
Yeah.
think that's where I think that's where some of this stuff kind of gets tossed by the wayside, is just you don't learn from your mistakes. And I've made some mistakes. I've made some spectacular mistakes that I regret to this day. And I think we all have that type of stuff, but it's
Yeah.
you go and you move on, you make it right,
Yeah.
and off you go.
Yeah. So it seems like a lot of your work is very consciously focused on branding.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a turning point for you, or was it kind of always that way?
My first project in college in the design class was 3 logos,
Okay.
and I just fell in love with it. I never liked web design. I still don't do it. No web, no UI UX. I refuse. Yeah, I mean, even if it's part of a project or something, like, how some folks that take like a finder's fee or like something like that. Like if I'm going to be creative direction, like that's one thing. But if it's just, hey, I'm going to do this or whatnot, it's like I don't want anything to do with it. So
Yeah.
I don't want any part of it at all. Like if I'm not going to touch it, why are you, giving me that, right? So I just say, go talk to this person, go talk to this person. Well, what's their rate? Don't know, don't care. And I'm not gonna put them in a hole,
Yeah.
for that. So go ask them, talk to them. I want nothing to do with it. Right. But the love and the branding just always seemed to hit home for me. Um, I had an knack for it, I think. Um, I loved um, I love putting a lot into a little. I think my work does that.
Hmm.
I feel like there's a lot of depth to the work that I create, especially when it comes to branding. Um, but there's still a simplicity there, a timelessness there. I think part of that comes from who I studied when I really got into design. Um, my first mentors, and who I really truly learned the craft from. And from there, I just kind of blazed my own thing. I picked, I didn't go after the trendy stuff. I went after looking at designers who are long passed away,
Yeah.
you know, and not looking to create something that looked like it was based in the 60s or 70s or whatever, but something that still had that timeless, iconic quality to it. And that really became my obsession. And it really hasn't changed any in all these years. But I found that same approach works with your iconography, with your wayfinding, with your packaging, with your illustration, type design, all of which I've been very fortunate to do a lot of over the years. But those same principles that I, really sat down, wrote out, and just stuck with, for all these years, influences pretty much everything that I do.
Okay. Do you ever create art just for fun?
I created a streetwear brand, iconic. I don't know why I'm not wearing the hat, but I created a iconic brand.
Yeah.
It's a little streetwear thing. I've done, you know, yeah, kind of. My buddy did this for me, which was really cool. But I I've made merch and posters and decals, and I mean these are some of my original decals, like way back in the day, right? Um, and just old stuff. I think I actually have some of my first logo stickers right here. Pretty sure I do. At least I did today. I was scrounging through a bunch of this stuff today and messed it all up. But yeah, here it is. My first my first logo stickers. My logo has changed over the years. Like it's getting better. The form's got better. But that was the first sticker that I made for me,
Oh man.
right? Literally this batch, which
Yeah.
is insane. So you know, it was, I don't know. I didn't want to just put studio on there. I didn't want
Yeah.
to just put studio temporary on there. I wanted to make something that I could build on and last, and that anybody could really dig, whether no matter what industry they're in. I've got my buddy, Rasheed Phillips at Phillips Barbecue, legend here in Atlanta. Friend of mine. He's wearing this stuff.
Mm.
You know, I've got people who work in government, local government or something like that. They're sporting my t-shirts, my hoodies. You know, um, Next time Killer Mike and I meet up, I got one for him.
Yeah.
And he's going to wear the heck out of it. So it's like it's everybody from every
Yeah.
walk of life, which I think is really cool. And it's something that I just wanted to do. And it's like there's nothing based around my studio. It's just based around this idea of iconic,
Yeah.
and which I know a little bit about, and kind of that's the direction I'm taking the studio. So it's just more of an extension of what I'm already doing on a day-to-day basis. But it's fun. And this is why I kind of got into design too, because I always wanted to do this stuff on the side. I wanted the freedom um, to do this, and I hadn't done it for like 3-4 years. The pandemic really put a huge damper on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I just got so busy, I just never really took time to do it. So I sat down at the beginning of this year and I'm like, I want to do something, and I want to do something big. And there it is.
There it is. Oh my God.
There it is.
I still, because this is the last one. That's one of the first things I did.
Wow. That's awesome.
And that's I think the last cap I have that I think I don't even have a copy of it.
I think if I could go back, I have one of my original posters, like the first poster that I made. And looking back, I wish I'd have kept maybe one more, but I've got the one.
Yeah.
So I still have one to this day. I still have one of everything I've made, which I think is super, is just super fun. Some patches and different things that I've made over the years. But yeah, I'm a bit of a collector and a hoarder, I guess,
God.
of some
Yeah.
of this stuff. So it's fun though. It's fun to see where the industries where the industries come, where it's going, what's all the craziness that's
Yeah.
kind of going on with it right now. But I'm happy. I'm happy to see. I'm happy to see where it's going, and I like my place in it.
Yeah.
I avoid the trends, avoid the fads, and focus on making something that's going to last.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I think that you asked me about my inspirations and everything when I first got into design, and I was like, I didn't really have any. I just wanted to get better. I
Yeah.
just wanted to like figure it out. And I don't know. I think that's kind of still what drives me. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But it's I get up and I'm blessed to do this.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled, and just fun.
Is
It's
there,
fun.
yeah. Is there anything you would like to see more of in that world, in creativity or that world in general?
We have lost the ability to have a conversation, a true, not just you could walk up to somebody in the street, just have a conversation. You could have a client meeting instead of Zoom or this
Yeah.
or whatnot. Now we live 2 states away, so understandably, but if you're in the same city, man, why are you not meeting in person?
Yeah.
Or a phone call, or an
Yeah.
understanding of how to actually have a conversation to get to a certain point with a client, with a friend.
Yeah.
I have students coming up, man, and there's been a huge shift in the mentality. Everybody wants to just text and avoid talking to people as much as possible, and I'm like, that's the worst thing you can do, for
Yeah.
multiple reasons. If you don't have conversations, you end up with some of the craziness that's gone down today.
Yeah.
If you don't have conversations, you just assume, or you just throw a bunch of random, stuff out there, you end up with that. And it's just, for me, it never made any sense. So for me, my whole thing from the beginning was always, I have to either meet you in person, have a phone call or a Zoom call with you before the start of every project that I do, no matter how big, no matter how small. If you're not willing to do that, the answer is absolutely no, I won't take the job.
Yeah.
Because I can't do the way I design is a very personalized thing. There's a personal aspect to everything that I do, whether it's for Coca-Cola or the Braves or something like that, or the big companies like that, to your mom and pop shops, to my buddy around the corner. Like, it's all, I treat it the same.
Yeah.
There's a personal aspect to it, but you won't get that without being able to have a conversation. I was on the Typecast, Good Type, has this has a podcast called Typecast, and I was on there. That episode came out a couple of weeks ago, or last week or something. I think, I can't remember. It's just, everything's just bleeding together now. It's insane. What do we say? July was a long year. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Although there's part of me that I can't believe it's already August of 2024.
It's insane. I got deadlines, man. This is awful. But anyway, and we were talking about that, being able to hear what somebody says, take it in and understand it, and then give it back to them and apply it to what they're trying to do in such a way that's unique and memorable and timeless. Right. And I actually did that for one of the for Liana on there on the podcast, man. And they were like, yeah, that's actually what I was trying to say,
Yeah.
And it's just it was just off the top of my head. So it's like, if I prep for this, now it's even better. But I feel like that personal relationship, that personal touch has been lost. A lot of it has. I think it's coming back in some way, shape, or form. I'm going to try to do my best to try to keep it going as best I can. But that's been the biggest. If you want to say disappointment, I'll go ahead and say disappointment. I think that's probably the biggest disappointment for me, is it's just kind of become a lost art just to have a conversation with somebody. I'd love to see a lot more of that.
I run an illustrators group here in town, and we meet up once a month, and we meet up in person. And even during the pandemic, when it got to the point, we had to stop for a while. But then when it got to the point, I was like, we're meeting outside. We're going to be mutually distanced apart. We're going to be masked up, whatever you need to do. But we got to meet. We got to meet and talk. Yeah. And I wish more people would come. Like, it's a kind of a crapshoot on how many people come, but it is the weird thing of, like, before the pandemic, there were times where we'd get 20 people there. And now it's like, sometimes we're lucky if we get 6. And I was like, what are y'all doing? You're doing nothing. You're sitting in your house, man. Let's come on down here and hang out, and talk.
So here's a question for you then. And you can tell me how you feel about this. And do you feel that the work coming out of, maybe there's a bit of a change, I think, in the last maybe 6 months or something, but do you feel like a lot of the work that came out of the pandemic, and especially the back part of it, there wasn't as much, I don't want to say joy, but it just seemed to be very just, it's there.
Yeah.
At times, I think, I'm not saying like just an overall thing.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know.
I hate to talk politics, but I'll talk politics. I think it's also an overarching thing of everybody.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I would absolutely agree with that.
And I think with some of the things that have happened recently, a lot more people are finding that joy and finding that happy in hope. And I think because of that, I think there will finally be a shift, God willing. We'll knock on every freaking piece of wood in my house.
Agreed.
Here, that too.
Oh yeah, that's the biggest piece right there.
Yeah. But I think I think that's part of it. I think it's not just work. I think it's
I think it's
We
just the culture. I think it's just the culture as a whole.
I
You
think we
know,
also went through trauma through the pandemic,
of
and
course.
nobody,
And there's no and I mean there's no doubt about that. I know that I
yeah.
did. You know,
And
I know a lot of folks did. You
one of
know,
my
so
buddies, yeah, I think this was like 2022. He was like, I am anxiously awaiting all the PhD papers like 20 to 25 years from now about this time period. He's like, I am going to be, he's like, I will read every single one. I was like, you are 100% correct. Because all those
mhm.
kids that had to go, you had a kid that had to go to school remotely. You're not getting used to being around people. Like, it's tough,
Mhm.
man.
You
It
know,
was,
there was that. I remember I had my so happened in March of 2020. The lockdown was lifted like a month. It was like a month or something, month and a half. I can't remember how long
yeah.
the lockdown was for. It was something ridiculous.
I
I
was
had
in,
my
I was in Tennessee. I don't think we ever locked down in
exactly.
Tennessee.
I was in Georgia. There was
Yeah.
plenty of not locking down here. It was like they had a meme. We had this fantastic company here called Butter ATL. My buddy Brandon, runs this thing. It's just hysterical, but it's very much about the culture and everything to Atlanta. And they did this thing where it was like, what is it? It showed one picture. It's like before the pandemic, during the pandemic,
Yeah.
and then the next page was like, it's the same picture,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
weren't lying.
Yeah.
So, especially up my way, there was a lot of that type of stuff. So I remember I had my first in-person meeting a week after the lockout lifted. I went to a new client's house. I went to her house and we hugged. And it was
Yeah.
just like it was the most
Yeah.
amazing thing in the world. And I was just like, it was so good to just to see somebody to be able because I'm a hugger,
Yeah.
It's like it's so good to be able to do that. And then I started holding in-person meetings the next week. Up toward where I was, there were places that were more wide open, a lot easier. They were, more open on the inside, so it was a lot easier to have a conversation and still be able to distance and whatever that they were asking us to do at the time. And I remember I was holding maybe two meetings a week there for
Yeah.
maybe a year and a half. It was
Yeah.
insane. And then that kind of became a tradition, for me to like have meetings there and everything. So we find a way around it, but I think there's that human connection. I think it showed when that kind of got lost, during those couple of years. I tried to not let it get to that point with me, but I'm but I've been that way ever since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I think, long answer short, um, I think having that personal bit right there,
Yeah.
I think is good. I think we need more of that. And that in turn affects the work. I'm not asking for this style needs to go or, why are we doing this or, why are there influencers or like all this type of stuff. I mean, like, I really don't care about it type of
Yeah.
stuff. I just want to see more folks talking to each other.
Okay. Is there anyone in particular? God, I can't wait to hear this because I know the answer to this is going to be epic. Is there anyone you'd like to work with?
That I would like to work with.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
I how
I'm
how
gonna go, I'm gonna
it'd
go
be
check. I'm gonna go
it'd
check
be
on my
easier
laundry.
for
Just let me know when you're done.
it'd be easier to tell you who I don't want to work with. It would be infinitely faster.
Although
Um,
I do have one that I am going to fight you over.
all right, let's hear it.
Waffle House.
Oh,
Dude,
well, obviously, you would win the physical.
I actually eventually I'm going to do this. I want to do a dream clients. Like I just want to create art and just post them to social. I'm not
Talk
actually
to who was it? Talk to Hotch, man,
yeah.
or Hakudel, man, did all that stuff and was like
Yeah.
wanted to do all this stuff for Southwest, and then he ended up getting to do like a huge thing for him.
Yeah. But
So it's out there. You can make it happen.
there are people like Waffle House and
Hmm.
Oreo. I'm a massive Oreo head. And the like for me, sports, it's the Bears. The Bears are my guys. through all the crap, through all the awfulness.
You're a true fan. You're a true
Yes,
fan. I
yes,
was just saying, I've been a Braves fan ever since I knew what baseball was. So
yeah.
I followed them all through the '90s, and then the mid 2000s and everything. We just weren't good. Um,
But yeah,
I got
Waffle House is the one I'm like, we can
that would
both
be
work
one.
for them. It
We
doesn't have
can.
to, it doesn't
They
have to
got
end.
room. They
Yeah,
got plenty of stores.
yeah. I'll
Like
work for waffles and hash browns. I ain't lying. I will work for, if you give
they
me a
might
Waffle
they
House
might
black
come out.
card,
I'll be honest, dude. They might come out better if they actually just pay you. You know, I think their bottom line would actually be better if they just paid you whatever your rate was,
that's,
as opposed to paying you in food.
that's what,
Like,
that's where my Southern comes out and be like, hey, just give me a black card. I just want a black card for any Waffle House I go to, man.
I love it. I absolutely love that.
Maybe that'll be the art I'll create as a black card for Waffle House.
My gosh, that was so funny. Um,
But who
no,
you?
Waffle House for sure. I don't know. I mean, Lego
Okay.
always. I think Lego, Hot Wheels. I mean, I grew up with that stuff. That's my childhood, man.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do that. Harley Davidson, Indian motorcycle. My dad used to race Supercross like professionally back in the day. I've been to every. We used to go to every Supercross race in the
Oh
Dome, in
man.
the Georgia Dome, every February, man. Upper deck, 50-yard line, dead center of the track, could see everything. That
Nice.
was back in the days of like Jeremy McGrath, Ezra Lust, like all that type of stuff. I mean, it was
Okay.
like the OG folks, man. And so I've always wanted to do something like that. Any type of racing,
Okay.
always like give me give me Bowman Gray Stadium, old NASCAR track, like OG NASCAR track
Yeah.
from like the 50s or something. Give me that. Let me redesign it. Let me do the wayfinding. Let me do the walls. Let me do the signage and all this awesome, stuff around there. That type of thing. Um, I've had a chance to work for a lot of awesome folks throughout the years. Under Armour. I mean, I've been wearing
Yeah.
it for a long, long time. But there's always those other ones. I mean, there's Sharpie. There's Duncan. Man, give me one typeface in two colors,
Yeah.
and that's all they have to work with.
Yeah.
I can have a blast with that. But there's all these other things too, man. You know, I've said one of the I've gotten this this question before, and I always one of the things I always like to say is like I don't know who I want to work for yet, because it's like I didn't know that like I would love working with like designing stock.
Hmm.
I just designed a pattern for a cloth diaper company, a mom and pop, or like a husband and wife cloth diaper company. My little girl, and she wears them.
Yeah.
We literally signed off today. I did a pack of four beautiful illustrations, and I was so happy about that. And they were amazing to work for. I think so often it's less about. I think some folks are like, oh, it's this client or that client. So many times it's less about the client and more about what was that old who was it who put that up? I'm sure Dan Casaro wasn't the first person to put it up, but it's like maybe it wasn't about design, maybe, but it was like
It
all
was
the friends that we made along the
friends of
way.
mine made along the way. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just remember laughing so hard. I love Dan and
Yeah.
Dylan, the young jerks, and those guys just amazing. I've known them for forever. But you know, how would I know that I would love designing socks or
Yeah.
doing, all this type of stuff? It's it's pretty wild. Um, but
I'm
and
trying to
now
think
like,
like you're talking, I asked you about comics and cartoons. So what were some of the
yeah,
cartoons? Like, would there be like a DVD, what am I talking about? Blu-ray box set for a certain cartoon that you would love to take on?
dude. I mean, I look at I look at my buddy Orlando Arcina,
Hmm.
Mexican, you know, I look at what he's doing with his stuff and I'm just like, I'd rather see you do that,
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
mean, it's like it's kind of crazy. Now, if I get an opportunity, I mean, for me, it would probably be some like I don't know, like I want to do some stuff for like maybe less than movies, like maybe the Marvel, maybe not. Like not necessarily, but like I watched Tulsa King, and I'm like, I would
Yeah.
do whatever they wanted me to do for that
Yeah.
show, which is so good. Or probably my new favorite show, just about of all time now, The Bear.
Yeah.
My goodness, just absolutely unreal.
So here you'll like this. So years ago, someone asked me who my dream guest was for this podcast.
And you finally made it happen today. That
I
is awesome, dude.
finally made it happen today. Now, number two, obviously, would be Sylvester Stallone.
Oh
To
yeah,
sit down and have a cigar with
gotta have
him
Sly,
and
man.
record a podcast because I'm the biggest fan of the Rocky films, and
Hmm.
he's an artist. Like
He really is.
and it's I would now when I sit down and talk to him now, maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know. But maybe like 10 years ago when he did Rocky. Oh my God, it's been almost 20 years since Rocky Balboa.
There's
That
been a lot
that makes my
this year.
knees hurt. Yeah.
So this year and next year, all of a sudden, like Toy Story
Oh yeah.
is what is it? Toy Story is like 30 years old. It's like
30 years
almost
old,
30
94.
years old.
Yeah.
30 years old. Lion King, like 30 years. Uh, I mean, there's a bunch of movies that rather that came this year, like 25, 30, 35
Yeah.
years old. It
Makes
was
my knees hurt.
like what was it? The Phantom Menace, 25 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, I was how old was I when that came out? I was 14. I was 14 when that came out. 13, about to be 14 years old when that came out.
Yeah.
You know, I don't remember anything about the only thing that I remembered, just watching the trailer or seeing the trailer or all that stuff was that one scene where like Darth Maul had like a double-bladed lightsaber, and I was just
Yeah.
like, I have to see it. I have to be I have to be a part of this. I was a huge Star Wars fan. I still am. I
Yeah.
love Star Wars. The Mandalorian, what was it? Boba Fett, Ahsoka. I never really got into the Acolyte. I still need to
Yeah.
finish it, but I heard it got a little better at the end. But I was just like,
Yeah. Some of that it's too deep in the lore for me. I loved
yeah,
God, why am I blanking on it? The TV show with Diego Luna. Uh it was after The Mandalorian, after Book of Boba Fett. It followed the guy from Rogue One.
oh, Andor, Andor,
Andor. That one,
so good,
holy crap.
so good.
Yeah.
That was so much better than any of the movies that they put out,
Yeah.
except for Rogue One.
Yeah. Rogue
Rogue One was
One's great.
spectacular,
Yeah.
absolutely spectacular.
Uh okay, so do you set goals or a checklist?
Um, I think this is one thing that I'm kind of bad at. I always set like a day-to-day checklist, day-to-day, get this
Okay.
done, get that done. Um, my wife has been helping me out immensely over the last couple of years to like set much longer term goals. Um, it's so weird because it's like, and I know this is probably just me. I'm working as hard as I can to get better and better and better, better, better at this. And it's like maybe some of that comes to the detriment of like planning certain things out or doing this or that. But thankfully, I have good people around me, so they help me a lot with that. We just moved, but I'm gonna have my own shop next. I'm gonna have my brick and mortar place next year.
Nice.
I loved it so much when I had it in downtown Atlanta for all those years, and I'm just so ready to be back into one again. Um, so so there's that. I have a rep now. My buddy Ryan from CoLoop, the
Okay.
agency called CoLoop. They have some amazing artists. I'm thrilled to be part of the roster. We're working through some amazing stuff now, so very,
Okay.
very, very happy with that. You know, working with Killer Mike and Ti.
Yeah.
Working with startups and you know just stuff all over the country, and it's just I don't know. It's like I'm just enjoying it. Like I'm really
Okay.
truly just enjoying what I'm doing. And I think at times I need to pay a little closer attention to where I need to be,
Right.
I think. But once again, I think that's why I just got to have the right people around me.
Yeah. Do you know what you'd like to do in the next 10 years?
Now,
No?
I
Okay.
mean, I mean, there's places that I want to be, whether it's financially, geographically, with the family and everything like that, obviously comes to the business. Um, I think I've worked on myself for so long.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm okay with that. I have people that I've got a CPA, I've got a project manager. My wife helps out with some of the socials and different things like that, some of the outreach. And then, of course, I've got co for a lot of that too. But I want somebody to come along next to me, I think, and push me design wise. Um, I'm super easy to work with. Um, Working with a client. There have been, finding the right person to whether it's partner with me or work alongside me. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, I'm sure you know what that's like. It's like I can work with somebody, I can hang with somebody, but we go into business together or we go and do this
Yeah.
type of stuff together, and it's just a whole new thing. So um, that's definitely there. I'd love to start like apprenticeships again, like um, not just like a mentor thing, but like bring somebody in, at least one a year, to
Yeah.
work with me for 3 months, 4 months, and just do some fun stuff. Um, you know, Speaking more would be a lot of fun. The workshops that I'm doing, I'm teaching more at Miami Ad School, or it used to be Portfolio Center here in Atlanta. I'm still doing a lot of teaching there, which is great. What is it? Uh, what's the you get over 30, you start forgetting. You start forgetting stuff. Uh, what's the professor? It starts with I. The freaking um,
Oh, now I'm
like a
lost.
hold on. It might be on my LinkedIn. Hold on a second. Which is
Man,
so bad.
you got two dudes over 30, man. I'm over 40. Man, like,
It's ridiculous. This is so bad. Um, what is it? Um,
starts with an I.
yeah. What do they call it? Oh my gosh, this is really um, this is really funny, and this is what you're gonna be. This is the part that you're gonna be cutting
God,
out.
no, no,
I'm
no.
gonna-
This is the best part.
adjunct doesn't start with an A,
Adjunct,
not an I. Adjunct
adjunct
professor.
professor.
Adjunct, yeah. So I'm that, which
Yeah.
has been really cool, and I'm enjoying this. I My students hate me at times. I'm sure they do. No, I know they do. Um, but but I get their best out of them, which is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I run my class like I'd run a studio, which is probably why none of them will ever work for me.
I, uh,
But
I taught actual kids, like middle school and high school kids at a community
oh
arts
yeah.
center. Everything was by hand, no
Mhm.
computers.
Wow.
Design, topography, history, everything. It was like a 10-week program. I had them build a portfolio and have professionals come in and review it on the last day.
Hmm.
And it was great. I can't deal with that many kids. There's like
Yeah.
8 kids in there, and I was ready to. I did not know how to not hulk out and go, shut up and sit down.
It's crazy because one of the things that I love about the teach at is they give me as much leeway as I think I need.
Hmm.
So I remember last quarter I kicked half my class out one time. I kicked half my class out of because it was all virtual because nobody was here in Atlanta.
Right.
And I kicked half of them out the class. I said, don't come back. Don't come back until you do XYZ. I'm tired of this. I'm not wasting my time.
Yeah.
You don't want to do it. You have no reason to be here. You don't want to listen. You don't want to do the work. I'm not if that changes, let me know.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know. I ask folks to do a certain amount of sketches, or I ask them to turn it in this way. Well, no other teacher has us do this. That's great. Then you'll love those other teachers even more. Fantastic. It's like, why are you running it like a studio? Because this is what you're going to be working in.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is what you are going into. And by the way, if I was running it by an actual studio, you would have had 2 check-ins, uh, and your stuff would have been due 3 days earlier,
Yeah.
so that I could prep to present to the client.
Yeah.
So I'm still going easy on you, right? It's just, I don't know. I'm the kid.
I need
I guess I'm the get off the lawn guy now.
I
But it's
need you
just
to I
like,
need you to sell me on this because my old school is trying to get me to come and be an adjunct professor.
hey, we got the word right.
And I kind of want to do it, but I I don't know that I want to budget the time for it.
So one of the nice things about this, is it's 3 hours a week,
Okay.
and it's one day, right? So like I have this class, and it normally it's on like a Tuesday. So I have it from like 1 to 4, right? I might do a check-in during the thing, or have them email me, or I might be available at a certain time during the week. It's smaller classes, so it's a lot easier. But my thought was, and I went through the same thing. I was very, very, very good at doing workshops. Love workshops. 30 people, 40 people in a workshop, no problem. No problem at all. But I also know that I'm, there for 3 hours, four
Hmm.
hours, and then I'm done. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can I do this for 10 weeks or 9 weeks, or what, 9, 10 weeks? So it took them like a year to talk me into giving it a shot. So I went for it, gave it a shot. And it turns out, my thought was, and those of you who know me will probably laugh at this, I thought I would run out of stuff to say or things to teach. I thought I would. I
Oh my
legitimately
God.
thought I would. And, you know, you're just never able to get to that point, to where it's
Yeah.
like, there's always something else, or you're dealing with different things, or this class needs different things, or help here or there. Um, it's a lot of fun. I think it helps you to really define even more why you do what you do.
Hmm.
And what is it? It's been a great help for me. And
Okay.
um, it's just something that I've really enjoyed. So I
Okay.
think you'd be good at it. If you're sitting down the whole time, I think they'll be okay.
I think my biggest struggle is it's on the opposite side of town. So I would have to go at rush hour because it'd be night classes
mm,
and drive like almost an hour to get there to teach for like 3 hours a night. I'm like, I don't know that I have that in me at this point.
One of the things that I did, when I was teaching in class, like in studio, is I would get there, like it's say I'm teaching from 1 to 4. I
Yeah.
just drive down in the morning.
Yeah.
I'd find a place, I'd hole up, I'd do work,
Yeah.
go out and eat lunch, and then show up for my class,
Yeah.
and just kind of make a day out of it. Or I'll schedule a meeting, or I'll schedule a client presentation or something during that time, and use that time to the best of my
Yeah.
the, the best I could with the time that I had.
Right.
So that's something that's really worked out for me. Um, I do that type of stuff on the regular.
Yeah. All right. So the big last question is if you could talk to the 14-year-old version of yourself, what would you tell them?
Oh my gosh. Probably change what I was eating back then for sure. Um, um, it's a rough one, because we're all damaged people, right? But I think that I think for me, I don't know, maybe just there's a lot of life skills that I didn't know when I got out of college.
Hmm.
And that's usually about the time you would start to learn a lot of that stuff. So I'd probably want him to focus a little bit more on that, I think,
Yeah. Okay. That's a good
you
answer.
know. And maybe I shouldn't have punched that kid, but I don't think I would change that. He
I,
deserved it.
I'm the bad angel on your shoulder on this one. You should always punch that kid.
Yes. Always.
My
Always, always,
my
always.
my new I try to say mantra and motto in the same word. Uh
My mantra.
my
My
mantra
mantra.
my mantra. I
Yeah.
gotta remember that. That's a good one. My mantra is some people have not been punched in the face and it shows.
There's all these memes going around. It's like some of y'all didn't go to church with or school with walls that looks like this and it shows.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there was that plywood looking like a
Yeah.
smooth, shiny plywood looking
Ugh. Yeah.
panel walls or
Yeah.
whatnot. What is it? What was the other one? Like some of y'all weren't spanked as a kid and it shows. Some of y'all didn't drink.
I think the punch in the face is the one for me because
Yeah.
there are people I know that I was like, man, you have a lot of gumption to be crappy to me. I was like, one of these days, I'm just going to have a bad day. And I'll be like, you know what? In jail, I don't have any wife and kids. I can get 3 hots and a cot in jail. I'm good. I'm going to just punch you. You deserve
Oh
it.
man.
I'm going to punch you.
I think that's the thing too, there's all the craziness going on in the industry right now, and it's
Yeah.
like, there's so many things that like maybe I want to wade into, maybe I want to say, maybe I want to, or whatnot, but I just stay out of it. You
So
know,
I will
I
say,
have I've got a business.
yeah,
I've got a family to watch out for, and people are insane these days. So
I
there's a
will,
lot of things that I want to say, but I talk to people who I have my circle,
yeah,
folks that I'm able to talk to, and then I just put my head down and go to work
my
and just stay out of it.
buddy Adam Kennedy, his big thing is unfollow and mute. He was like, you can save a lot of mental anguish by unfollowing and muting. He
Agreed.
says unfollowing. I say muting because I think there's too many things where you just have to mute certain people. You can't unfollow them.
It's true.
It's
This
like,
is
but you
also
can mute
very
them.
true.
Man,
This is very true. But
we gotta end on a more positive.
let's end on something positive.
Okay.
Let's put our shiny heads together and go. I mean, look, dude. I mean,
I know. I love it. I love it. I know. I love not having to worry about it. It's the best thing in the world.
love it.
Uh,
Absolutely love it.
okay. Do you go to a lot of concerts?
No, I've actually never been to a concert before.
Holy, you're the bizarro me. I go to
I'm the bizarre.
every day of the week.
I know you have no wife, you have no
I
kids,
know.
you
I
have
know.
all that type of stuff.
I know.
I don't know. I just never. I don't know. It was never a big thing for me. I'll go to now. You ask me to go to a game,
Yeah.
be a baseball game or something. I'll be the season ticket guy. I'll be at all 81 of the home games. You know what I mean? Like, and not get bored. Like that is like I love that. I love going to basketball games. The NBA, we got the Hawks here, man. When we had hockey, we used to have hockey here, the
Yeah.
Thrashers. I've never been to an NFL game, and I don't really want to. I've never been a
You're good.
football guy. Now Atlanta United was fun. I've been to a couple of
Okay.
those. That was fun. I don't care. I don't much care for soccer, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. Um, but yeah,
So
that was never. I'll travel. I'll go to different places. Obviously, like when we came up there with you guys,
yeah.
with you, like I love doing that stuff. I'll do that before I go to a concert.
So I do have the fun question that we'll end on. If
All
you
right,
could
let's hear it.
go back in time, get
Yes.
in the DeLorean and go back in time and see any athlete play at the height of their fame, who would you see?
Wow. the Atlanta in me wants to say like a Hank Aaron or something
Yeah.
like that because it was just amazing.
Yeah.
But I think, and this is just a baseball. Uh, this is just a lifetime baseball fan
Yeah.
team. You know, team and city and and all that type of stuff. That just flies out the door. I think I would want to go back into about 1927, Murderers Row with the Yankees. You had
Yeah.
Lou Gehrig, Babe Ruth, all those just incredible folks. Because Babe Ruth at the time was, I mean, it was just insanity. Like he was the thing. And
Yeah.
even then, like nobody could touch him. And then you have Gehrig, who's still to this day one of the purest hitters.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously taken, too long, Iron Horse, all these just incredible people. But right there when the game began to change
Okay.
with the batting, with the power, with that type of stuff, I think I'd like to see that because that was a show back then too.
Yeah.
No fireworks and all this type of stuff, but just the people.
Yeah.
There was a lot of crazy characters on the field, back in the day, and that was always pretty awesome. So that's probably what I would.
Okay. You're probably going to have to wear a wool suit to go to that game. That's the only drawback.
Oh my God, I have to wear that, a hat, tie.
Little hat. Yeah. Oh my God. All right. Well,
Gotta wear church clothes to a baseball game.
Oh my God. Yep. No way.
So the motto, what is this? The moral. So what is it?
Montreux.
Hold on.
This episode's going to be called "In Which We Invent a New Word." Mantra and motto. So
Montreux. So I'm writing that down. So the mantra of this episode is I'm gonna go back to Parks and Rec. So the mantra of this episode is that it is over.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say bring shorts to the 20s. That's my mantra for this episode.
Ooh, do it. I love it.
All right. Well, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, man. If anybody wants to follow along or say, hey, the studiotemporary.com, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, at Studio Temporary. Check out Iconic, my streetwear brand at stayiconic.com. And if you're ever in the Pigeon Forge area and you start to feel like you're being watched, you probably are.
You're being chased.
By the grape ape. How good they were.